It just might be the greatest sports franchise in the history of sports. A place where legends are made, and there's always something to talk about. Get ready to immerse yourself in pinstripes. Start spreading the news, hosted by Paul Semendinger and E.J. Fagan, a couple of doctors with a prescription for Yankee fever. And now, here's Dr. Paul Semendinger and Dr. E.J. Fagan. Get ready to start spreading the news.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 45 to 50 to 55 or even 60 minutes of great Yankee talk. This is the Start Spreading the News Yankee Show. Just a reminder that the Start Spreading the News Yankee Show is brought to you by Artemisia Publishing, a phenomenal publisher who has published numerous great baseball books, including From Compton to the Bronx by Roy White and me. The least among them by me, and my wonderful novel, Scattering the Ashes. They also have The Bat Boy, the story of Johnny Vandermeer's double no-hitters. They have The 100 Most Influential Baseball Players of All Time by Lincoln Mitchell, and hosts of other great books in a variety of genres. Check out Artemisia Publishing at apbooks.net. And, of course, check us out on Start Spreading the News. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to introduce my friend and your friend, too, the great E.J. Fagan. Hi,
hey, Paul.
E.J.
Doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Happy Memorial Day.
You too. Happy daycare reopens tomorrow day. It's been a fantastic 4 days, and I'm ready for more childcare in my life.
We just had the babies here, the twins. I'm at the beach. We had them. I guess they came Friday night and they left today. And it's, you know, people say the best time with grandkids is when they leave, but that's not true. It's sad when they leave.
No, I'm very happy to hand off my child to a grandparent. One grandparent is coming very soon to take care of him for a while, and I'm exhausted. So let's talk about some baseball. Speaking of exhausted, the Yankees are on the West Coast.
Yeah, I hate West Coast games. It's their last West Coast swing, though, of the year, which is really great that it's over before June. So
that's crazy, right? Terrific. It's weird. It's shocking that once we're done with the Dodgers, we're out, right? We're done.
It's great. I'm very happy about that. So I thought it might be fun today, EJ. We're at one of those mile markers of the season, Memorial Day. And I thought it might be fun, instead of us looking at all the Yankees who are doing great, is if I went through the hitters who are league average or worse, and you gave your opinions of these guys, and then we went through the pitching staff, and the same thing. And then I'll ask you your biggest surprise so far on the team, the biggest disappointment on the team, and who do you believe will improve? You could say Aaron Judge. I don't think he's even close to being as good as he could be. And who do you think will fall off? How does that sound?
Let's do it.
All right. So we're going to just do these in order of lowest to highest OPS plus. So Pablo Reyes has a 39 OPS plus. Thoughts on Pablo Reyes?
Yeah, I think he's just happy to be there. I don't want to speak ill of anybody. I don't think Pablo Reyes is going to be there for very long. I think it's a miracle he's gotten his major league paycheck for this long, and good for him. Moving on.
Moving on. 51. Yorbit Vivas.
Close to the same, right? I mean, I think unlike Reyes, Vivas being younger, a guy we haven't seen in the majors, you always think that person has potential. But especially when people were kind of clamoring for Vivas to be called up about a month ago, I think people kind of forgot that he's a fringe prospect at best. The Yankees got him in the Victor Gonzalez trade, I think, with the Dodgers, just like a complete throw-in player at the time. He's hit in the minors enough, but not impressively really at any point in time. He's always been a good contact hitter, and that's about it. Never been much of a defender. I don't think if the Yankees cut Vivas that he'd end up like starting in the majors tomorrow.
No, I don't think so. What do you think of his swing? I mean, he just seems like he's going all out every swing.
It's an odd swing. Now, it's weird that he makes as much contact as he does with that swing. But like I'm not a swing analyst by any means, but there's just something off about it that I can't really describe that I think may explain why he's not very good.
Yeah, I just think like if you're a hitter, I don't know, if you're Reggie Jackson or Aaron Judge or Giancarlo Stanton or any of these big time guys who are sluggers and you swing big, okay, fair enough. You're a big time hitter. If you're a fringe prospect and you're swinging for the fences as if you've hit 300 or 600 lifetime homers already, I think it's time to change your approach.
Every time and he makes as much contact as he did in the minors, that'd be great. But he's just not doing it in the majors. Like he's actually had like pretty regular playing time since Jazz went down, and I think that's where I think that he's like Pablo Reyes, like is just happy to be there. He'll be optioned down. He still has options. But I don't know. I don't think he's even like a platoon bat at this point. Or at least I don't think for this team he's a platoon bat. You can imagine he's a guy. I can imagine him getting picked up by the White Sox or something and getting some playing time. I'm very skeptical that we would miss him.
All right, now here's an interesting one. Oswald Peraza. He has got a 58 OPS plus.
Yeah. Like I'm looking at a StatCast page right now, and it's all kind of bad, including the defense.
Which is interesting, right? Because his calling card is his defense.
Yeah, and frankly, I think he looks good on defense. Like he looks flashy on defense, but the numbers don't suggest so far that he's been great. Now, maybe that like small sample defense, I wouldn't trust it too much this early. But I mean, the big thing is that he's not hitting at all. He looked fine in spring training and looked like he might have some major league potential. He doesn't have any options. I think the question now is basically, is he a backup infielder? Is he the guy? Is he your Oswald Cabrera? Cabrera's going to be out for a while, so I suspect Oswald Peraza is going to stick around because you just need a backup shortstop. And there's a lot of backup infielders who aren't very good. But at this point, you can't really blame it on lack of playing time. Just like Vivas, like he's gotten a lot of run. The Yankees are still playing him a lot, not just against lefties. And the results have been kind of bad. So I think we can probably give this one up. There was a world where Peraza was better than Volpe, right? We thought that was a possibility. He's hit at AAA pretty well. Has a really good defensive reputation, but it didn't work out. The Yankees made the right call on that one, I think. And he's a guy I imagine that if you were to cut, he'd wind up on some other team, and you can imagine him eking out a 680 OPS and good defense at shortstop and being a major league player. But that's about it. There's a former player named John McDonald, who was a major league shortstop for I'm going to look like 15 years, very, very long-term backup shortstop, could not hit a lick. He had a 596 career OPS, and this was before offense kind of cratered. And was with Toronto for a while, was with Cleveland for a while. He's famous because he's the last player from the great Providence College, where I went to my undergrad to hit the major leagues. Providence College made a run at the Little League the College World Series the year that they dissolved the baseball program. And McDonald was the last alumni of that. So, guys like that can have long major league careers. Look at Tyler Wade, still has a job, but nothing to write home about, and always a player the Yankees can upgrade. And I think that Oswald Cabrera, once he's healthy, is better than this.
I don't think Cabrera is coming back this year.
No, but like next year, if you think about them building out their bench next year, I don't think they need Peraza. I think Cabrera serves that function, and then you find a real a permanent third baseman to replace Cabrera.
Now Peraza is out of options, so if the Yankees release him, he's out. He's gone.
Well, they can send him down through waivers, so every team will have a chance to pick him up.
Right. So somebody would take him.
Yes, I don't believe he can refuse an assignment at this point, so he wouldn't become a free agent if somebody didn't take him. But then he'd be Rule 5 eligible and all that. So Peraza, I mean, it's the reason why you have limited options, limited, rule, protection from the Rule 5 draft, because maybe he deserves a shot somewhere else, or he goes and plays in Mexico or something. Right? I mean, that's the kind of player I think Peraza is at this point.
Who's the guy? I can't pull it off. I cannot get it in my head. He was going to be a quality Yankee infielder. I think he was a shortstop. He failed with the Yankees. It was him and Glaber. They were back to 1-2, and then he went to the A's, and he went to the Orioles like 2 years ago, stole a whole bunch of bases. Oh my goodness.
Oh, you're thinking of Jorge Mateo.
Yes. I could see Peraza without the stolen bases, but being a guy who sticks around, and in 3 or 4 years, he has that magical season. I mean, a lot of players do. All of a sudden, he hits 287, hits 13 home runs, and everyone says, oh, we shouldn't have gotten rid of him. But
I mean, Mateo led the league in stolen bases in 2022. He had a 3.7 Baseball Reference win season. Didn't really do much beyond that, but yeah, like that kind of player sticks around, and Peraza is probably a better defender than Mateo. Mateo's a lot faster. Like that's normal, right? You get some hits falling in, you have a solid season. Eduardo Nunez, similar kind of player, had a solid career after he left the Yankees. When you can play shortstop, it matters. Like that's a talent, and it really makes you appreciate someone like Anthony Volpe, who can both play shortstop and is pretty good. And because even if you aren't pretty good, you can still get a job as a major league shortstop. Same like a backup catcher, right? Like, Kyle Higashioka is still going, and good for him.
All right, here's an interesting one. DJ LeMahieu, OPS plus 82. He's been back for, I guess, a couple of weeks. What does he have? He has 33 at-bats now. He's played 10 games.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall his numbers are lagging the StatCast numbers a bit. And it looks like he has more, I don't want to use the word talent, but more ability than he had last year. He looks healthier than he was last year. I think he's looked good on defense, but doesn't look like the guy you're going to lead off at this point. And so I think the real question is if if he can bring his numbers up to his StatCast numbers, I think he might lead off. He's a 358 xWOBA. It's really good. And really good contact skills. And that's all looking solid right now. If he can't come all the way back to that, if he's a 690 OPS player, well, then the Yankees are going to go find a third baseman. Right now they're short an infielder because Jazz is out. He'll be back soon. And then I think the real question is, are you okay maybe with a platoon bat at third base? Are you going out and trying to get somebody? There's not a lot of options. I've been trying to find like a good third base
Andy
trade.
Singer has two.
About.
I'm going to bounce them both off you to play third base. Miguel Andujar.
Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah. I don't like it. Miguel Andujar can't play defense. He's been bouncing around DH, right field, third base. And if you look at the underlying StatCast numbers, he's not hitting either. He's getting very lucky right now. He has an xWOBA of 295 and actual WOBA of 341. So I don't believe it. I don't think it's real. I think that Miguel Andujar has a long track record of being a very mediocre major league player, very replacement level. And I see no reason to believe that's going to change.
Yeah, here's the other one. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa.
That's the one I'm okay with. And we talked about this on the Bronx Beat podcast last night. We're not talking about an all-star, right? The Yankees right now at third base, they're playing Peraza, who's been awful. Maybe LeMahieu
they're playing a sub-replacement level third baseman, however they're working it out.
I mean, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa has a 289 WOBA, expected WOBA, but has a long history of outperforming that by a few points. He's fast. I think he'd make a great bench player for a championship team. I don't want him starting.
No,
I mean, it's the best of a bad situation if you need it. Like I would love to see Kiner-Falefa and Peraza and Cabrera if Cabrera were healthy. And like there's some insurance to him being able to play a lot of positions. He's a better version of Oswald Peraza, basically. So I'm okay with it. I'm just curious. I'm going to bring up a StatCast page. I'm curious of his sprint speed, if he's still running pretty fast. No, he's not really anymore. Look, right now he's playing shortstop where he really shouldn't be playing, but you put him at third. He's good, probably still a good defender at third. Again, a guy who I'd love to have on the bench if I need a situational hitter or a bunt. Can play at every position basically.
He can back up catch. I mean, he would be your fourth string catcher.
I was going to say we're good. We're good there. I mean, look, I think that if it's July 29th and you have nobody else, I would take him, right? And I don't think it would cost anything to go get him. He's getting paid a decent amount of money. You know,
I think IKF got a bad rap, and I was not happy with the Yankees and him. But it wasn't him. He did okay as a Yankee. But the Yankees got him and immediately put him in a position that he didn't belong. And then the next year, they put him in a position he belonged in even less.
I mean, I think it's more that he was a bench player, and then you were relying on him to be your starting center fielder or your starting to do a lot of things that just it tells you how poorly those teams were constructed. But that said, I don't think he's a big upgrade. I think that the Yankees need. If I'm Brian Cashman, I'm trying to do much better than Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. And again, I don't know who the options are right now. Nothing other than Arenado really makes much sense to me, and even Arenado doesn't really make any sense. But that's your kind of fallback option is Kiner-Falefa.
All right, we're gonna play ding 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 ding. It's now the lightning round. You just say yes or no. You don't even explain it.
Sure.
Rafael Devers.
No.
Manny Machado.
No. Terrible contract.
Carlos Carrasco.
The pitcher?
I'm not the guy. No. What's his name? the infielder.
I don't know.
On the Twins, he was an Astro.
Oh, Correa?
That's what I meant. My goodness.
I'd take him. I wouldn't pay for him. Sure.
So out of those guys, the guy would be Correa. Interesting.
Correa's having a bad year. I don't think any of those guys are options. I mean, Devers isn't going to be traded. Manny Machado has the worst contract in baseball. He's getting paid like $40 million for like 8 more years or something. And plus the Padres aren't going. The Padres could use him right now. So yeah, I don't think any of these are options. Like I think that if you're gonna get a guy, you're gonna get somebody you've never heard of, but it's like a platoon bat, and it's kind of your best case scenario.
Over the years, that was Brian Cashman's that was his superpower. Gio Urshela, D.D. Gregorius, Scott Brocious. Mm-hmm. He would find these guys, even Charlie Hayes to a lesser extent. That was really before he was the guy, but he was in the front office. They'd find these somewhat off the radar guys who would be able to come in and do a great job and fill a role and fill that role expertly to complement the rest of the team. Right.
Yeah,
when those moves are made,
there was a couple of years.
Scott Brocious. But he ends up being a terrific player for a couple of years.
There were a couple of years where the Yankees were a little bit ahead of the technology curve. And so they were able to say, like, hey, this guy's a AAA with good exit velocity. Let's call him up. Or let's go get him. That was Luke Voigt. That was, so like, I think that was a moment in time, and they've lost that competitive advantage. And I see no reason to believe they can do it, like, at will.
Fair enough. All right, so here's an interesting one. Just over league average, we have a couple of guys, 3 to talk about. Not really just 2, but here we go. Jazz Chisholm Jr., currently injured, OPS plus 102.
Yeah. Looks like I have a update. Just Googled him, and 17 minutes ago, we have an update on Jazz Chisholm. So let's read that live. Chisholm could be off the injured list by next week. He's going to start rehabbing. So there we go.
Wow, I saw some video of him taking swings. So,
look, I think Chisholm has a track record of being really good, well above average hitter, and then good defender on top of that. I think we saw that. When I watch him hit, it really does feel like he doesn't know what he's doing out there. Like he's just one of those players that's just so raw athletic. I think about Tyler O'Neill and the career he's had, or Javier Baez, those types of players. And he makes it work. And the Statcast numbers are better than the actual numbers. So maybe his BABIP, I think, has just been awful. But his expected batting average is still 213, right? So this is a guy who swings at everything. When he makes contact, it's hard, makes other things happen when he's out there. Like, I think he's a fine enough player, but I don't really see him making a leap unless he kind of learns how to hit. And I just don't see evidence that's going to happen. So he's a guy who could have, a league average OPS. And if he has a league average OPS, he's a really good player because he runs and he fields and average OPS is nothing to sniff at, right?
And he's by far the best option the Yankees have for second or third base because the other options are all the guys we mentioned already.
I mean, huge improvement, I think, hopefully at second base when he comes back. I really loved watching him play defense. I thought he was just like a wizard out there, just really impressive. He's a good dude. Like, I kind of like Jazz. And so I think I think he's a good player. I don't think for a second the Yankees should extend him or something. Right, because I don't want any part of Jazz as he enters his physical decline, and maybe he's already starting to get there at 27. I also think that because he's a low event player, right, guy who strikes out a lot, walks a lot, hits a lot of home runs, he could just by luck have a 175 batting average one year, and this year he's striking out more than he ever has. So hopefully, that changes when he gets back. He resets a little bit. It was still a small sample. And he doesn't just try to pull a home run every time. It really feels like what's happening out there. So I'm a little mixed on Jazz, but overall fairly positive. And, if you're not relying on him to be your back in the early part of the season, I think he was batting fourth. We talked about him batting leadoff. That's a very different role than if he's batting seventh or eighth because the rest of the lineup has really stepped forward. Then you're like, okay, who cares? 720 OPS, low batting average. It's okay. He can steal some bases when he gets on, take some walks, and play good defense. And that's a pretty good player. I don't want to be in a situation where you're relying on him to say backup Aaron Judge, which he did.
Last one, as far as the hitters go, Austin Wells, 103.
Yeah, Wells has been kind of disappointing this year. It's weird because I never had my belief in Wells as a hitter was never shaken, at least until this year. Really talented player, had a rough end of the season last year. Clearly was injured late in the season. But when he was on, he was not just had a long streak, but looked like a great hitter for 3 months. Looked like a guy who could hit 300, who's going gap to gap, could have, a decent amount of power. And it's just kind of not working right now. 29th percentile in xWOBA. Solid, hard hit rate, solid bat speeds, but he's making a lot less contact than he ever really has. Not really taking any walks really at all. His defense is fine, but not great. He's the best framer in the league, but has below average in blocking and average in caught stealing. I have a theory about him, and I have no idea if it's true or not. He looks bigger than last year. He looks like he put on some weight, maybe not good weight. One thing we noticed in spring training was that his exit velocity had spiked. And I was really, really interested in that. I wrote a blog post about it. And that just hasn't happened in the season. So maybe he's just a little bit less athletic than he was last year. That's really hurting him. Maybe he overcorrected a little bit and that was a mistake. That said, I think he's really talented. JC Escarra has been good. And I would love to see Wells get a little rest just to try to get him going. He's young, but he's a catcher. He needs the rest, and catchers tend to trail off late in the season for a reason. And Escarra, I thought, has been looking really good lately. Better numbers, frankly, than Wells on Statcast. I think a better defender, and I think he's really bad at holding runners, if I remember correctly. So, I think it's disappointing, but he's a catcher. He still has enough power that he can not get on base a lot, not hit a lot of singles, and still be an effective player. And because he's a catcher and because he's still a pretty good framer, I think he's been a plus player. I think he's like a 1+ win player, but right now that means he's on track to be like a 2.5, 3 win player. So a little bit above average. Whereas I had hoped that Wells would be another one of those cleanup hitter guys this year and would be part of a young core for the Yankees, and just really hasn't done that this year.
Agree entirely. So let's move to the pitchers. ERA plus 35. Marcus Stroman.
Yeah, I don't think he's coming back. I mean, look, he has a knee injury, quote unquote. I don't know how real that is. Sounds like something you make up when you want to let a player save face instead of being released. He's been traveling with the team, which is nice. But as far as I can tell, that knee problem isn't going for surgery or isn't. I think he's just kind of waiting because there's no spot for him.
There's no spot for him. I mean, maybe you make him your long man. So you
but
can
you don't
eat
need a long
garbage
man.
innings.
You don't need a long man, right? And when Keel gets back, you got Yarbrough as your young man, a long man. Look, I think that if the Yankees had another injury at starter, I think he would very quickly start pitching rehab games and try to get stretched out a little bit. And that's kind of his role right now. And the Yankees are kind of letting him do that. Don't like it. But he's throwing 89. I mean, I don't know what else there is to say. You know, some players like Yarbrough can make that work, but Stroman so far hasn't shown an ability to make it work pretty much ever since he had that hip injury with the Cubs right before the Yankees got him. He's just kind of got old. And unfortunately that's kind of what happens. He's small, so he doesn't have like the physical strength to pitch deep into his 30s. I think that's just the reality now.
He wasn't good when the Yankees got him. He's always been a 500 pitcher as far as I'm concerned. All right, here you go. Ready? Devin Williams, 65 ERA plus.
Yeah, now this is a tough one, right? Like he looks better, but then every once in a while, like against the Rockies, and that's in Coors Field, so who knows? He's been having like kind of bad starts. His StatCast page has recovered a lot. So if you looked at it after April, wasn't striking guys out, walking tons of guys. It wasn't good. And he's recovered his ability to strike guys out. So he is now a 35% strikeout rate, and that's despite having terrible strikeout numbers for the first month, which is 94th percentile or whiff rate, 30% strikeout rate, 89th percentile. And so he's basically been the best strikeout pitcher in baseball again, like he used to be over the last month. Feels a little more hittable than I would like, even while he's striking a lot of guys out. A little bit worse control than I'd like, though he's historically not had great control. I tentatively am going to say I think we have righted the ship on Devin Williams.
I do too, and I like him as the eighth inning guy. I mean, he was signed to be or traded for to be the closer, but Luke Weaver's the closer. All right, here's the crazy.
Hold on, I'm looking at his game log. I was not keeping track of how good he's been. So since May 7th against the Padres, 1 inning, 3 strikeouts. Against the Mariners, got 1 out, and that was it. Against the Mariners, again, 1 inning, no strikeouts. Against the Mets, 1 inning, 3 strikeouts. 1 inning, 1 strikeout. 1 inning, 2 strikeouts. 1 inning, 1 strikeout. 1 inning, 3 strikeouts. No earned runs during that time. Yep, I think he's right the ship. I'm willing. I'm back on Williams. Williams is back. He's great.
But he's not Luke Weaver. And here's the stat to blow your mind. Luke Weaver's ERA plus is 3.06.
Yeah, he's been pretty great. I mean, like he's gotten hit hard lately, but nothing's really scored. I have no idea. I don't want to judge Colorado appearances. Like, who knows what's going on there? There's a case that Luke Weaver's the best reliever in baseball right now. He's an ERA under 1. Luke Weaver has been excellent. And even if Devin Williams is back, like Luke Weaver might just be better.
Mm-hmm. So I like him. I like that as the 7th and 8th inning. Ian Hamilton, 73.
I think the Ian Hamilton run is close to over. He had that one really good season when he came up a couple of years ago and just never really got back there. He's got good stuff, but he's always been very hittable. You know, just looking at his stats right now, like he has the worst walk rate in the majors basically, and really good strikeout stuff. Like that's a classic pitcher, right? Doesn't know where it's going. No one can hit it, including, you know, the catcher doesn't know where it's going. The batter doesn't know where it's going. But I think when the Yankees are about to have some bullpen guys come back, like Jay Cousins is on his way back. He was shut down because he had like a leg thing or something, you know, but is still working his way back. They might make a trade for some guys like Ian Hamilton is on the edge. I think some other team will pick him up because his stuff is really good. I think he has options, but he's a guy that we got really excited about, and I'm just not really excited about him anymore.
Here's an interesting one, because if you had asked me who this player was by telling me his ERA plus, and you said his ERA plus is 86, I would have said, what? No way. He's better than that, and he has been all year. Clark Schmidt.
Yeah, well, he had some weird stuff, right? So he came back and was basically rehabbing in the majors, and those starts are bad. And if I bring up his like other starts, like I think he's been pretty good since then. There was again, Colorado stuff. Didn't have his best start, but only allowed 2 runs. His expected ERA 3.36. He looks like Clark Schmidt right now, I think. Control has been a little worse this season. If I look at his game log, I think he's fine. Like again, the question is, he's a number 3 starter, right? Like if you expect him to be, there's this 2.85 ERA from a couple of years ago. That's not happening. But I think he's been going deeper into games. He's been striking guys out. I think he's gotten a little unlucky, and with a larger sample, you're going to see Clark Schmidt as, I think, a mid-3s ERA guy. So pretty good.
And then better than Clark Schmidt, though to the eye test and to the feeling he was worse. I'd flip these guys. I'd say this guy should be 86 and Clark Schmidt should be 96, but 96, Will Warren.
I mean, to me, I think it's not the eye test; it's the memory, right? Like Will Warren looked so bad early on, and I thought he was going to get sent down. I was, debating him or Carlos Carrasco, who gets cut. You can option down Warren. Let's send him down, whatever. And then he just kind of fixed himself, right? I mean, stuff wins, and Carlos Carrasco, with all the experience and gumption, couldn't match the good stuff of Will Warren, and I think that this is why. Do you give players a chance? The Yankees are always in win now mode. And so, sometimes you don't give a guy like Will Warren a month or two to show you what you have. And if they had a fully loaded rotation, they probably wouldn't have, but they needed him. And so they had no other choice but to pitch him. And that gave him a chance to figure things out. He hasn't been the best teams in the world, right? This was the Athletics, the Mariners, the Rangers, the Rockies. But they're still major league teams. The Rangers are a pretty good team. I think we can now kind of look at Will Warren and go he's kind of Jordan Montgomery. Jordan Montgomery had an ERA in the high 3s, low 4s, pitched 170, 180 innings. Nothing insane. I mean, he after he was traded, he went on that run. But before that, he was a number 4 starter. Mm-hmm. And I'm increasingly confident that Warren's going to be a number 4 starter. He's always been a very healthy player. He's pitched a lot of innings in the minors, and so that's something that you don't always have with, like a Louis Heel type. I'm impressed. I'm impressed that he overcame a lot of difficulties, and that's not something you always see in a player. Going back to last year when he was called up, he looked awful. Looked not that great in the spring. Looked not that great in April, and just kind of figured it out. And I'm impressed by that, and I think. I think he's going to be in the rotation all year. I wouldn't be shocked to see him in the rotation next year. And as long as you're not counting on him to pitch a playoff game, that's pretty good.
What would you do if the Yankees turned around and traded him right now for Harrison Bader?
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. But I do think that if they trade for, say, like a Freddie Peralta with the Brewers, Warren's one of those guys I could see included. You'd like them to have more pitching depth after a trade. But, teams might want real major leaguers right now. And Warren, it's going to be under team control for a while. He's going to be valuable, even if he's not that good. You think about J.P. Sears, who's been with the Athletics for 3 or 4 years now, and similar kind of player. Not great, number 5 starter on the Yankees, but number 3-2 starter on a bad team. Cheap, controllable. Maybe the Rockies would like him in return for somebody. I don't wish that fate on anybody, on any pitcher. But you want Ryan McMahon from the Rockies or something, maybe Will Warren will come the other way.
All right. Bing, bing, bing. It's the 1 minute lightning round, whatever I was calling it before. You have a choice. You're a free agent. You have all the talent in the world. Contract is the same. Years, money, all that kind of stuff. You love Colorado just as much as you love New York. So none of these, I like this area better than the other. You can be the 26th man with a major league contract on the Yankees going down and up, AAA, but you're still a Yankee, and you'll spend the majority of the year with the Yankees and be on the postseason roster. Or you can be the starter on the Colorado Rockies.
Yeah, give me the money.
But the money's the same.
The money's the same. I guess I'll be on the Yankees in that case. Yeah, I don't know. Like the Rockies, they sign a lot of very mediocre starters to long-term deals because they just are willing to stay. Like Kyle Freeland's got like 2 extensions or something for them. Anthony Senzatella got like a 5-year deal or something. And these guys are not sniffing long-term deals anywhere else, I think. So, maybe I'll be a starter on the Rockies and won't be very good, but they'll still give me $60 million. Something like that.
I think if it comes down to it, of course you'd want to be a Yankee, but I'd rather be playing every day. I'd rather be on the Rockies, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be kind of depressing to be a Rocky right now. Really, I feel bad for Rockies fans. Scott Moss, who's been on the Bronx Beat podcast with us, was at all 3 games for the Rockies and said there was 90% Yankee fans in the stadium. This is the worst team of all time right now.
That's unbelievable. Yeah.
And I mean, it's amazing. I was thinking a lot about this watching the series. Every once in a while, you see like Ezekiel Tovar would make an incredible play, and or the Rockies would bring in a reliever throwing 101, and you're like, okay, this is still a major league team, right? This major league team can still do major league things, and even the worst team in the history of baseball, like they can field that play, and that's incredible. But then you see the plays like in the 10-run inning in game 2.
It's just unbelievable.
Where you just go like, oh, that's why they're the worst team in baseball. Like they're not just, they don't have, it's not just they don't have any pitching. It's that they are sloppy and make big mistakes. And even when we complain about the Yankees like last year, it can get much worse.
We talk about the Yankees being poor fundamentally, and then you watch the Rockies play.
Yeah.
Go,
I mean, that was
overstating the case here.
that was rough. That's why you fire the manager, right? I mean, that was really rough. And again, I feel bad for a guy like Ezekiel Tovar, who I think has game. Ryan McMahon, who's going to spend maybe his entire prime of his career with the Rockies, I think is really impressive and really good defender. And then they're just surrounded by a bunch of guys who just don't know what they're doing and look like they're in single A. It's rough.
Yes. All right, so EJ, the biggest surprise this year among the Yankees could be a pitcher or it could be a hitter.
I wish I had thought about this. Positive surprise, Trent Grisham has to be, right? I mean, maybe Ben Wright. Like those are the two. But Trent Grisham has been so his numbers have come down recently, but Statcast believes that's just bad ball luck. Like his Statcast numbers are flat great the entire season. I think that I was ready to cut Trent Grisham. I didn't understand why the Yankees tendered him a big contract when they could have spent that money elsewhere. And now I think he's like a slugger. I think he's not a great defender. Frankly, I think he's really overrated on defense. I think I do too. He's a fundamentally sound, slow outfielder and probably should be playing a corner. But beyond that, so like you look at Cody Bellinger, who's a fundamentally sound, fast outfielder, and like the contrast is amazing. But beyond that, the hitting is real, and there's really no reason to believe it isn't. And I think his overperformance is, I think, the biggest reason so far why the Yankees have been as good as they've been. And it's really incredible. And I wonder if I was thinking about who do I trade from this DH outfield platoon thing if Stanton comes back and you want to play him. Do you trade Ben Rice? And I'm like, I can't really find a player that I'd trade Ben Rice for. Like a young pitcher, but there's not really like I was like trying to build like a Mackenzie Gore trade or something, and just none of it worked. And then you look at Trent Grisham, who's a free agent after this year. Maybe you're selling high on him. He doesn't cost all that much money. Could you trade him for Freddie Peralta? Maybe, I don't know. Right. Like I wonder if that's a conversation happening because he's been so good and the Yankees don't need him. And I do think it's really holding back both Rice and Dominguez right now, even without Stanton around, because they're not playing enough. Like Rice is playing every other day now. And that's awful for a 900 OPS player, a player who's had a little bit of a slide back, hitting well again.
Who's your biggest disappointment?
That's a tough one. right? So disappointing him his expectations, right? Minus performance, right? So it's a guy who I thought was going to be good and has been not very good. And I'm not gonna say the injured guys like Garrett Cole, I guess, right? If you're going there, but that's a little bit of a cop out. And it's been a really good team, right? So there's not a lot of really disappointing players. I think it's Austin Wells.
I would agree.
I think Austin Wells is a guy that I thought was a guy who could have a 850 OPS, like was really a good hitter. And now that I learned that he was a solid catcher, I go, Austin Wells is one of the most valuable players, in the league. Second in Rookie of the Year voting last year. And he's just been mediocre. He's been okay. He's been playable, but not great. I think he's regressed a little bit on defense, like we mentioned, and like the hitting is just not there. So yeah, Wells I had high hopes for, and this is not that.
Which Yankee is going to have the biggest improvement from this point to the end of the year?
Okay, so I have a cheat answer. My cheat answer is Cody Bellinger. Because Cody Bellinger was so bad for the first 6 weeks of the season and has completely turned it around, has great numbers, right? Went from being a player that, I thought should be benched basically, right? To having well above average hitting along with the good defense.
Great defense, right? He's just so smooth out there.
He looks like a pro, right? Like he looks like Trent Grisham fast.
Harrison Bader looked like a pro, but he was I think we talked about this a million times, but he was so exaggerated in his movements. It drove me up the wall. It was like, I know you can do it, but you don't have to do the crow hop on everything.
Harrison Bader looked like he was going 125% at all times, which is why he's injured all the time. Excuse me. Bellinger, I think, is everything they could have hoped for at this point. And if he can, I am now confident that he will be your number 4 hitter, the guy you hit behind Judge 3 or 4 for the rest of the season. And I think that's great news. You can hit him in front of Judge if you want, whatever, right? Along with a good defense, there's no way that we're keeping him for next season. So enjoy it while it lasts. Maybe you re-sign him. I don't know what I expect he's going to command a big contract if he keeps playing like this. And I think he'll deserve it. I think, the Statcast numbers were never there for Bellinger, even in the 2023 season where he kind of had a career resurgence. They're there now. He is back to not just like where he got back to when he recreated his swing, after the really, really bad kind of post-COVID years. I enjoy watching it. Like I think the ceiling on Bellinger is MVP, non-Judge division, right? And then you have Rice, Bellinger, Judge, Grisham. Like that's really good. Goldschmidt.
Why is that a cheat? You said that's your cheat answer.
Because he's already doing it. Like okay. He's like I think he has turned that corner weeks ago.
See, so the next question is the cheat answer here is Aaron Judge. Who's going to have the biggest fall off? I mean, Judge
I don't know.
350. And they're like, well, he dropped 50 points. Long time ago.
If Judge has a 720 slug for the rest of the season, like I don't think that's a drop off. Like I think
there was a magazine that's still out there, Baseball Digest. I used to get it every month. I loved it. And they would run this, even as a kid, I saw this as such a silly article. They'd run it every winter. Biggest batter gainers, losers in 1982. Biggest batter gainer losers in 1983. And I remember like in 1981, and I'm just going to make up the numbers, George Brett hit like, I don't know, 325. And he was the biggest batter loser because the year before he hit 390. Like, well, of course he's not going to hit 390 again. So it doesn't mean the implication is you're the biggest loser. You had a bad year. A lot of the times the biggest losers were guys who just had a monster year the year before.
Take things very literally. Look, Aaron Judge has an expected batting average of 350, which is the best in the league. 350 the rest of the way.
Who's going to have the biggest fall off then?
I mean, it's got to be Grisham, I think. Like, I mean, there's no player in the Yankees that has been benefiting other than Aaron Judge, and that's debatable, from batted ball luck. You have a couple of guys who have, we can talk about maybe in your next question, but like who whose batted ball luck's been a little unlucky. But Ben Rice has been unlucky, straight up unlucky. Trent Grisham has been just as good as his expected numbers. Paul Goldschmidt has been pretty much as good as his expected numbers. And so if there's a fall off, it's not because their luck is equaling out. It's because they're regressing to the mean. They're going back to their normal level of performance. And, guys get hot. And so when they get hot early in the season, it looks like they're going to be hot forever. Right. And so I think it's got to be Grisham just because he's doing something he's never done before. You look at Goldschmidt, you're like, well, it's Paul Goldschmidt. Like, if he wants to hit 320, I believe he could do it at least against lefties. You look at Ben Rice and you're like, well, really talented young hitter is really mashed in the minors. You get it. You look at Trent Grisham, you're like, where'd that come from? And so I think you got to look at Grisham and be like, trade him. That's why I wouldn't be shocked to see him being the guy who's traded if they're going to trade somebody. I don't think they will. But if you got to trade one of those hitters, Grisham is the guy where you're like, maybe we hit the lottery here and we should cash out now. Yeah.
It just to follow up on the other thing, George Brett in 1981 had 3.3 WAR, but remember that was a shortened season because of the strike. He hit 314. He had where did we go here? 314. He did only have 6 homers and 43 ribbies. You triple that or more than double it, and something like 15 homers, 90 ribbies. His OPS plus was still 145. He didn't have a great year, but he was not. He was far from being a terrible ball player. But the way those articles were written, it was like you're the biggest loser of the. Like, no. So right. Aaron Judge could hit 350 the rest of the year, and could be the biggest drop off. All right, EJ, we've done 46 minutes. What do you have for me? Do you have anything?
Well, I think that we're at a point in the season where we've been at a lot in the last few years, which is it's the end of May, and the Yankees are really, really good. In 2022, they were on pace to be the best team ever. And then everything fell apart basically at the last week of May. So Aaron Judge got hurt. No, that wasn't Aaron Judge's. That was or 20. I forget when they were maybe it was 22. They're on track to be the best season ever. Then Anthony Rizzo, I think that year, got hurt at the end of May. And the starting rotation just fell apart at the end of May in 2022. And I'm curious what you think about this. I feel way more confident in this team than I did in those teams. The Yankees have the best run differential in baseball. Their expected win-loss, so based on their rough run differential, is 10 wins better than their 98 win pace or 99 win pace, whoever they're on right now. So they're 110 win expected win-loss record. I believe it, kind of. Like I kind of think this is a really good group of players. And again, there's some guys who get worse. There's some guys who get better. Their pitching is looking great right now. Maybe that regresses a little bit, but it feels like a more robust team than those other teams. I think there's 2 reasons for that. One is it's deeper. So it's not just Judge and Soto. It's not just, whatever. It's you have 6, 7 hitters that you're confident in right now. And even if 1 or 2 of them get injured, you still have a deep team. Every team deals with injuries. And so some of that might happen. Pitching is less deep. And so maybe that's a cause for concern. But it's also just a younger team. Like for the first time, we have a team that I don't think is going to get worn out, or at least more than the normal team, more than the average team late into the summer. You can imagine Volpe and Wells and Dominguez and all of these guys, Rice, Jazz, just kind of like they're in the prime of their career, right? Like they shouldn't break down at least as much as other teams do. Then you have guys like Luis Gil coming back. You have, I think, a pretty good case to add at the deadline if you can find some improvements. Like it feels to me like this is the most complete team in Aaron Boone's tenure, and that's pretty fun.
The worry for me will be when Giancarlo Stanton comes back.
Yeah, me too. Very concerned.
And all of a sudden, you're sitting Dominguez. You're still thinking Trent Grisham's in April, and he's hitting crazy, and he's not anymore. But you're still it's Aaron Boone when he gets in this mentality. You're playing DJ 6 out of 7 games, even though he's showing he can't hit. And all of a sudden, they went from a young, exciting team to an old, lethargic team. And, the other day, Clay Bellinger was on the bench. It was a 1-run ball game. And a right-handed pitcher was in. He'd only faced 2 batters. I'm trying to recall all this play by play, but Cody Bellinger was on the bench and Anthony Volpe was up, and Volpe was like 0 for 4 that day. I forget exactly, but I mean, there's times when you send up Cody Bellinger, and that was the prime time to send up Cody Bellinger.
I agree, and it seems like he's only willing to use his bench for the bench players, right? The guy, your Vivas gets hit for or whatever. When you're right, I think Volpe. We didn't talk about him today as having a solid season. But there's no doubt who's the better player in that situation. And the Yankees, especially even now without Stanton, especially when Stanton comes back, are going to have 2 guys who should be starting on the bench. That's why I think a trade could happen. Because, like at that point, what do you do, right? Like, you have guys who should be playing and they're not. And I agree. I think Stan's going to get the playing time. LeMahieu, I guess, he's getting playing time now because
there's nobody else.
They need him, right? And your alternatives are Vivas and Peraza, who are young but not any good. LeMahieu has lost the privilege of the benefit of the doubt, right? And so he has to prove himself. And he actually said that right before he came up. He said, I know this is my last chance and I need to make sure I'm 100% healthy before I go to the majors. I got that. And I think he did it. And I think for now it's just the question is, what does he have left at his age? The last time we saw Stanton, he was slugging like 900 in the playoffs. And I think that's a different social dynamic where I don't believe in Stanton. I do not think that that's real. I feel like that was just magic, like some miracle. The skies parted, lightning struck, and Giancarlo Stanton was rejuvenated for the playoffs. I don't think that's reproducible.
I don't either.
But I do think that he is going to feel, and I think that many major league players are going to feel like he has the right to prove himself again.
So in a perfect world, and assuming the Yankees decided we can't just play this guy if he's doing terribly. What's a fair amount of at-bats that you give? I
mean, lefties, right? I mean, I two starts a week against lefties like that to me is what I would give him.
Correct, but I'm thinking he's going to be in the everyday lineup. Let's assume that, and let's assume he's playing every day. Because what you're saying is the smart thing. You play him a couple times a week. That's not going to happen.
I don't know. I actually don't know what they're going to do.
No. I'm saying if you at what point if you had the control of the team, and we see him, would you give him 50 at bats? Assuming he doesn't perform, does he need 50 at bats to prove he can't do it? Does he get 100? Does he get 150?
I think 2 weeks is a good amount of time to at least tell what you have, right? I mean, if he looks like playoff Stanton last year, then sure. If he's striking out 35% of the time, closing his eyes and swinging, then I think then you can make that decision pretty quickly. I think this is a visual thing, right? LeMahieu came back and immediately he just looked good. Right. And then you go, okay, give him a chance. Then that makes sense. Play him. Let's see what he has. He has some leash. Now Stan's not fielding and you don't expect him to run at all. And so as with any major league hitter, you just can't tell from a small sample. So I think you give him again 2 weeks.
That's like 50 at bats.
That's 50 at bats, right? And visually see what it looks like. I don't think it's an automatic that they just kind of give him unlimited playing time. I think that Stanton is not a great bench player, but they also have been playing holding Pablo Reyes, not using him for a long time now, and so maybe you don't need a great bench right now. And so if he's playing against lefties and occasionally against righties, that's fine. I think you can solve a lot of these problems with something they're starting to do now, which has been sitting Goldschmidt. against righties. He sat against DeGrom, and he's sitting today. I saw a bunch of lefties recently, so they've been playing the lefty lineup. So you sit Goldschmidt a little more. Rice plays first base a lot more, and Stanton DHs, against all lefties and against a couple of righties, and then against lefties, Dominguez sits. That makes sense. Frankly, Rice has been better lately against lefties, so I don't really know what you do there. It's tough, and again, this is they have two extra players who should be playing with Stan. Two players who should be playing not just full time, but like almost any team in baseball would have them as their cleanup hitter. Right? Rice, Grisham, Cody Bellinger, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton. And there's not really a solution there right now. And Goldschmidt, I guess. Right? Not really a solution there right now. I'm very curious to see how they handle it. Stanton is apparently getting close to like playing in some games and rehabbing and all that, and you get the sense that he's just been kind of waiting. What I really don't want is that they option down Rice. Like I worry about that a lot. Dominguez, I think they're going to keep playing. I think he's like offensively has been really improving and playing really well. Defensively looks awful. I wonder if they say, kid, go down to the minors for 2 months and work on your defense. I hate that, especially because he's the kind of guy with a strong second half could win Rookie of the Year, get you a draft pick. And he's just been so good lately, and especially against righties. Maybe he goes down and starts swinging left-handed against lefties. I could see them doing something like that. I hate it. I wish they wouldn't, but I mean, they got too many players, and usually these things work themselves out. Well, no one's getting injured right now. And he's almost back. Right. I mean, I don't want to lose Bellinger for a month or something to a hamstring strain, right? Like that would be a bad way to solve this problem. And it doesn't even solve your problem because you got two extra guys. So I don't know. I wish Stanton would just kind of go hang out in the Bahamas for a couple more months. Let's wait till somebody gets injured and go hit in the cage every other day, and that's it.
Well, EJ, great stuff as always. We have reached the hour mark, just about 57 minutes. So I want to thank everybody for watching. I want to thank EJ for sharing his vast, deep, and wonderful knowledge with us all. Happy Memorial Day, everybody. Have yourselves a happy, wonderful, and terrific week. And don't forget to go to Start Spreading the News and EJ's Substack page. Have a great week, everybody. Take care.
Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk for America.